down the hammer and pick up the pencil. You're about to listen to the Savvy Radio Show. Learn from real-life real estate investors, experience revealed with the Savvy Landlord as your host.
All right, savvy investors out there. Today, another day that you should push yourself to do things to grow your business that you wouldn't do before. And let me tell you something. I have been wanting to do Labor Ready for a long time, and I just kind of pussed out until I was forced to do it. First of all, I was on a project that was thousands of miles away from my home base, and I was rehabbing a property, and I brought some guys with me, but to get the job done in a quickly amount of time, I had to use resources. Now, usually when I find staff, workers per se, labor, I usually jump on Craigslist, post an ad. I usually get a decent response, just real basic. When you ask for 10 people, 5 people will show up and 3 will be good. I'm talking about an ask on Craigslist. I'm not talking about Labor Ready. Now, caveat on Labor Ready, it's also known as People Ready. And a friend of mine said a funny joke. I'm like, they changed their name because the people are ready, but they don't want to work. So I thought that was funny. I know that ain't funny to you, but it's funny to me. But anyway, let me just read what I found off the internet. People Ready, company that specializes in recruiting, screening, hiring, deploying, I like that word, the right temporary workers for the right job. Yeah, okay, we're about to break it down. On demand, in the construction industry, light industry, small businesses. People Ready has over 600 locations. All right, so AKA Labor Ready is what I'm going to say because that's how everyone knows it is Labor Ready. So this is how it works. It actually worked out pretty decent for me. The interesting thing, here's a couple of things that make me excited about Labor Ready and why you should be doing Labor Ready if you got some jobs that need to get done, not necessarily quickly, but for some safety reasons. Here's why. Number one, they pay for workman's comp, and you're dealing with another person. So you call the office. It was really easy. You set up, you fill out 2 documents. If you're going to get some sort of a credit, which I needed it, I guess, because I was on another job site. Far away in another state, I just called that local agency. They emailed me the docs. If you set up an account, it actually goes through all 600, but I filled out these docs, took about 2 minutes. They asked for some references. I don't know why they gave me credit, gave them my EIN number. Next thing you know, they're showing up to the job site. I called in there. She's like, how many do you need? What do you need? I was like, well, I need a trim carpenter. I need some labor. We'll be tearing up some tile. She's like, do they need gloves? Do they need hard hats? And so I was all excited at first. I was like, oh, wow. Yeah, bring the gloves. Save me $1 from the gloves. So all of a sudden, I had 5 people. I asked for 5 people and 1 trim carpenter. Now, again, this is not the perfect science, but you have to be kind of bold and know what you're looking for and have some sort of experience and if you're weak at firing people, you're gonna have to fire people. So one dude was late. I was like, and I can tell if he was late and he was lackadaisical, doopity-doo, when he walked onto the job site, I was like, hey man, we got everything covered. Well, man, there's a 4-hour minimum. Yeah, that's a 4-hour minimum. That's what the paperwork says. But, you were late, so there is no minimum now. That was just one joker that I had to deal with. And then some other person, was a lady, no disrespect to the ladies, but this lady showed up. I work with wood. I was like, okay, great. Do you have a saw? No, I don't. Well, I need a trim carpenter with a saw. And so it's an interesting thing, but here I found some really good people. I'm not a painter, but I did during this process find some good painters that were just diligent and didn't focus. And then I did have some guys, and I was on this job site for about 6 days, and I had the most random people show up, and it was convenient. I could just call one number, talk to a gal on the phone, and this is what I'm looking for. Now, the first couple of days, I had the 5 guys, and a couple of them were just doopy-doo, and then the other 3 were just, man, off the chain. And you can say, hey, I don't need you tomorrow, and you can have the other 3 guys come back. So that was convenient. Now, I did have a problem I was like, I need a trim carpenter. Okay. And she couldn't find me one, but she kept saying that she could. It took 2 or 3 days to send a trim carpenter. By then, I already found one on Craigslist. So some of it was pretty good. here's the things that were interesting, frustrating. One, theft is an issue. Well, what do you mean? Well, I had a phone charger and a cable, and it disappeared. I know it's petty, but it was stolen, and it was only these gentlemen. So that's one thing that I thought that was pretty interesting. But here's how it works on their side. So on my side, I can call this number. I need 5 people to show up. So if you're trying to clean out a house, or you're trying to do some landscaping, or a job that's like just straight physical labor, and you have no ties to them. I mean, I don't know if I can articulate that properly, but it is convenient on that side. Now, on their side, how does it work on this side? Why are these guys work? So here how this works for them. They get paid $9 an hour, and they're charging you $15 an hour. And like, wow, they're only getting $9, and you're paying them $15. And when I requested a trim carpenter, she's like, look, they're $20, and they get $15 or something like that. But I never got a trim carpenter from Labor Ready. But when I was talking to these guys, and two guys I really liked, but they didn't have transportation. Well, on their side, I guess that they have to take some sort of a test. They have to fill out some kind of paperwork. I'm assuming that Labor Ready has to vet them out. Not 100%, because if you're working for $9 on hard labor, where'd you come from? And that was one of my main concerns. Well, when I started digging into these guys and talking to them, and a couple of them I had to go pick them up because I was in need, and it was over the weekend and nobody was motivated. Well, they go to Labor Ready, and I don't know if this is all over the country, but they show up to Labor Ready at 5:30 in the morning, a.m., ready to roll, and then these Labor Ready people dispatch them. I didn't know that. The lady, when I called, didn't explain that. I was like, yeah, I need these guys on the job site at 8 o'clock. Well, I could have been rolling at 6:30. So, but interesting, and a lot of the guys, I gave a couple of guys ride back because, again, it was the weekend, and I started this job site. I got on this job site on Thursday, and I didn't leave until Tuesday, and we worked nights, 8, 6. Well, these guys showed up at 8 a.m., and we worked at 10 p.m. every day. And when I was giving them a ride back, I was just talking, how does this work? And a lot of these guys, I'm not saying criminals, but they have some sort of a background. Two of the guys that I gave a ride with, they needed a ride because they had DUIs and multiple DUIs. Well, what does that mean? I mean, I'm not going to judge people. We all got problems. So I'm assuming that Labor Ready is the last ditch effort for them. Now, I'm telling you right now, I'm proud of these people, the Labor Ready people, not the Labor Ready company, the workers, that they're willing to show up at 5:30 in the morning and be ready to roll and be dispatched. So it's like, man, these guys were on apparently the first one to the office that signs in, they give them the first job. So, first come, first serve. So these guys were sitting at the office at 5:30 in the morning, waiting for me to call in at 7:30 to say, hey, I need 5 guys. And then, so it's random on their side. Now, after I got the ball rolling, I kind of figured out the system. You find a guy and you really like that guy, you can request that guy. And it was interesting. So right out the gate, it was a crapshoot. Now, here's a couple of things that was really just blew my mind. One, I filled out these 2 pieces of paper. I needed 5 guys, 7 guys. They sent them over. Now some doopy-doo guys, I said, hey, you're good for the day. Some guys, I had them working all the way to 10 o'clock at night. I never paid $1 at all the whole time. Until I got back to Oklahoma, I had a bill. And so, man, if you're kind of cash flow situation and you got a rehab rolling, I mean, I'm assuming they want to get paid as soon as possible. But how it works, I believe, on their side is that, and then another thing that I found out too is those gentlemen get paid that day. So obviously, Labor Ready's making money, obviously, or People Ready, and so they have cash reserves, and these guys get paid that day or the next day. I don't know exactly how, but that's what it seemed like. Like they're going to go get paid when they get back. Now, some of these guys, I dropped them back off at 10 at night, and I'm assuming they went back to the Labor Ready at 5:30 in the morning. Now, how do they get paid? When they come into the job site, they got this document. and you get a copy of it and you sign off on it. So you could say, Jimmy worked 5 hours, and you sign off, and it says on the bottom of it, it says, does Jimmy, you want Jimmy to return back? Yes or no? And how was Jimmy? Was he satisfied? And so I'm telling you, I thought it was a really good aspect for myself to get the job done. But I did have some jokers show up, and so it's just a crapshoot. But think about it logically. I had the 5 guys at $15 an hour basically paint a whole house in a day or two. So it's too early in the morning right now for me, but to do the math, and I'm holding a microphone, and I'm in a different area. I'm at my crib, so I can't figure out how to calculate that. But if you hired a real painter, it'd be a couple $1,000s. I got it done. Now you got to deal with some jokers. You had to hang out with them. You got to make sure what's going on. Remember, some are motivated and some are not. Some have driving, some have tools, some don't. Some have a phone, and they will take smoke breaks. So I have a high work ethic. We're trying to get this deal going. They're going to take their 15 minutes break. But I know this podcast was all over the world, but I wanted it to get this out there, and you try it out. If you got a big job site and you want to get stuff done and you have the ability to run people, this is an opportunity for you to be empowered, because it's not easy finding good workers. But through that Mick and Meyer, and I'm trying to think of how many labor guys I had total that I went through. I probably had maybe 8 or 10, and I had about 3 really good guys. Now, I mean, of course, my analytical high C people out there figure out the math, but I found 3 solid guys that I feel like I could, if I was in that market, that I could almost hire them full time. So that's my words of somebody, death on the labor ready cross. Hopefully it encourages you. If you were on the fence, or if you've got a labor ready or people ready story, and you will let me know. Other than that, it's all good. So my goal here is for you to save money, get the labor done. Don't worry about workman's comp, and go buy assets.
Thanks for listening to the Savvy Radio Show. Glide online and listen to our other motivating episodes at SavvyRadioShow.com. Connect on Twitter at LandlordBook, and always be buying assets.